the deep psychology of silent people, there exists a silence which makes one uncomfortable. It is not the silence of the empty room, of the unfurnished space, but it is the silence of the man sitting in a full room, watching and listening, saying little and revealing even less. It is difficult to exist in a world which favors the prompt reply, the vocal opinion, the always present figure, and be this silence, this unanswered question in human form. Various interpretations are placed on the silence of this person, and these include mystery, arrogance, insecurity, and depth. Again, there is always much more going on within this quiet exterior than one can begin to imagine. Take a moment to reflect on the dynamic between you and silence. Do you feel the urge to join in with others in the room, to keep the momentum going, to fill the silence with words of your own? Or do you retreat into yourself, observing details others do not, waiting for the moment to share something truly important? The silent member of the group may be drowning in the noise. Or, on the other hand, she may be completely comfortable, deciding not to have to compete for attention. But the question is much more than, why is she so quiet? It is also, how does silence allow her to see, to feel, to understand things others do not? Euro. To better understand the deeper psychology of mute communication partners, one might start with the groundwork of temperament and personality. Mainstream personality research would indicate that the concepts of introversion and extroversion are categorized under a larger concept, like the Big Five models of traits. These concepts outline where the individual gets their energizing sources from and how they relate to the universe. People who are silent tend to be on the extremity of being introverted in terms of extroversion. That means they are more inwardly turned and prefer their social inputs to be selective rather than being in larger and noisier settings. That is not defective in terms of socializing, rather it is different. While the highly extroverted individual feels most alive when they are in the spotlight, the introverted, silent person feels most alive in the world of their thoughts, in one-on-one conversations, and in the act of observing I. These more reserved natures are often coupled with certain thinking patterns. People who are quiet think deeply about the information before speaking, which often finds their mind active even when their mouth is not. Rather than speaking to find out what they think before they speak. And this means that instead of reacting to the surface level, what they are listening to is the undertone. This is because they are not reacting to what is explicitly stated and instead are listening to what is going on beneath the surface level. They are listening to the undertones, and the undertones are what they store away. And this is what creates the more layered view of what is really going on. One way to look at some mute people is as reflection introverts. These people value the silence as a domain of clarity. Just picture someone at a party, standing on the edge of the social venue, primarily listening and observing, as opposed to making their voice heard. These people are not nervous or fearful. They are feeling the pulse of the room, noting the social nuances, observing the way people interrupt each other, the performers and the withdrawers. They only respond with something valuable when they finally craft a noteworthy thought beyond what has already been said. In the language of cognition, it may express an emphasis on depth rather than speed, accuracy rather than informality, quality of contact rather than quality of interaction. However, there is another angle related to psychology, where silence is more about protection than preference. In the area of social anxiety, silence can be a shield against judgment, rejection, and ridicule. A socially anxious person may hope to relate to others, to be noticed and appreciated, Anderson says, but his mind is filled with forecasts of possible error, saying the wrong thing, being misunderstood, being subjected to censure. Silence is not an emptiness, but a fullness of self-monitoring and self-condemnation. The quieter he is, the safer he feels, but the more alone he may feel as he grows older. The quieter he is, as Anderson puts it, the safer he feels, is greater than. This protective silence can have origins in previous experiences, perhaps in terms of connection patterns, Perhaps there has been a connection between staying quiet and staying safe in the past, so that the nerve system has made a connection between staying quiet and staying safe. Even as an adult, perhaps the person's environment does not appear to be threatening or challenging, but the body responds as if the environment were so, resulting in staying quiet or not engaging others, not sharing personal information, and thinking twice before speaking. In this regard, silent individuals do not simply steer clear of social noise, but must also navigate a history of emotional risk. It's Beckland Arf from this. Silent individuals do not only resist social noise, but need to contend. There is, however, an identity-based level of the psychology of silent people. These individuals build an identity around the quiet one, the observer, or the listener, and through this, discover it is both comforting and confining at the same time. The observer has, at first, a very clear identity with the social system, which is based on the function of being the person others turn to when they need someone who can listen unconditionally, who will keep a secret, who will notice what others might miss. On the other hand, these roles make it rather difficult for them to step out, be spontaneous, or demand attention, because this would be tantamount to going against their role or character by acting in a way that violates these roles or characters that belong to them. However, behind every one of these facades, temperament, safeguarding, and identity lies one underlying pattern. Quiet individuals are frequently extremely attuned to the inner realms, whether that be self or others. This quiet allows them to think contemplatively, and that contemplation can look like and be a source of so much more than meets the eye. At other times, however, it can become overthinking, self-doubt, or rumination, particularly where these individuals take in more information about emotions than they can effectively handle. Yet it also leads to them becoming thoughtful sexual partners, cautious decision makers, and astute viewers of human behavior. Therefore, when you meet a mute person, this is rarely a matter of shyness or coldness. This is often the silent, introverted person opting for depth over breadth, the thinking mind defending itself against perceived danger, or the identity being formulated for observation over performative action. In some cases, this will be all three things at once, context dependent. And if you find yourself in this description, your silence is not the absence of a personality. It is a way of being present that happens internally rather than externally. The more a person can understand the psychology of silence, the more their perspective shifts. Rather than wondering, why don't they talk more? The focus shifts to what's going on beneath the surface when they aren't speaking. And perhaps even more so, what's going on beneath the surface when you find a way to fill all the gaps with conversation? If this is the type of self-discovery that resonates with you, be sure to subscribe for more content like this, where human nature isn't measured for how loudly it speaks, but for how deeply it runs.